So let's talk about the traits of Gen Y. Technology is by far the most obvious trait that we're going to talk about. Gen Y they don't just use tech, they are completely immersed in it from every single angle. They're the first generation of digital natives. They're the first people to grow up. Since they're born, they have tech everywhere. They had Nintendos and all those things as kids. They've had the internet for as long as they can remember. They've had smartphones, and that's a big part of their daily life. In fact, in a survey, 33% of people would rather give up sex than their smartphones. That is maybe a scary fact, but a fact. So this generation is used to lightning quick, two-way communication. They grew up in a world of rich media, of visual and interactive learning. They've had TVs, they've had smartphones, they've had video. They have a computer anywhere they want. They have internet all the time, 24/7 when they're sleeping. I think 60% of people sleep with their smartphones too. So that's lovely as well. They believe in the power of networks. Gen Y constantly is networking, and that's part of the tech element as well. Globalization is another thing that's affected Gen Y big time. Not in the economic sense that we usually think of it, but think of globalization in the sense that Gen Y is closer to everyone else in the world than we've ever been before. They're entirely connected with everyone, connected with people in China, connected with people in Europe, and obviously with the news flow that we get, the European debt crisis, the events that happened in Japan recently, everyone feels very connected because they're so connected through technology. And so Gen Y has a very community-minded feel, a very team attitude of let's make the world better. It's not kind of an individual kind of thing. Gen Y does not have the traditional us versus them attitude that you had in the Cold War, or you had in World War II, or you had in the Great Depression, other significant times of history. Gen Y is saying it's not us versus them, it's just us. We're the world, we have to take care of it, that kind of attitude. The concept is called social individualism, basically that, yeah, you're your own individual, but you have to look out for everyone else at the same time. For Gen Y, distance and diversity doesn't really matter. Barriers are broken, age, economic, political barriers, cultural barriers. Gen Y can travel anywhere for the cheapest and easiest that anyone has ever done in the world. So they have that kind of mindset. And going along with that, Gen Y is also the most liberal group that we've seen to ever emerge. They have much more progressive ideals than anyone else. If you're talking about gay marriage, immigration, any of those kind of concepts, Gen Y is traditionally less religious. They're the most educated generation. And there's a democratization of knowledge in that we have Wikipedia, we have knowledge everywhere for almost free. So Gen Y is able to access that, and they're really resourceful, and they tap into that. And they will, if you want them to Google something for you, they'll do it in 2 seconds. Gen Y is also greener than most other generations. Gen X is also about as equally as green. And then there's a significant difference, a significant drop-off when you get to baby boomers. As I said, because Gen Y feels so connected, they feel really strongly for the environment and the globe as a whole, kind of the social individualism theme again. Last but not least, stock market turmoil. Gen Y, since they started growing up, they've experienced the dot-com bubble burst, they've experienced Bernie Madoff Ponzi schemes, they've seen the World Trade Center collapse, they've seen the global financial crisis, the Eurozone crisis, the US debt crisis. Basically, they're not very bullish right now. That's what I'm getting at. But I was talking to someone the other day, a baby boomer, a CEO, and he had just seen my presentation, and he was saying, when I was in the 80s and 90s, I could invest in almost anything and make money off of it. And I looked it up, and the Dow Jones from 1980, it was below 1,000. And then in 2000, it was 11,000. That's It's a very significant return. However, if you invested it in 2000, it barely moved at all. It goes down and up and down and up, and then kind of levels off where it was. So generally, the markets have been quite different for Gen Y. They invest money, and a lot of the time they end up losing it. And so as a result, they have not been very bullish on things. I have read a lot of things that also say that if we have a bull market again, if things pick up, that will sort of eventually erase Gen Y's fear of this. But right now, as it stands, Gen Y typically is very cautious with this kind of thing.